Hi and welcome to the channel. This series of videos is going over our Firefly FFMN. We're trying to do everything we possibly can to get this guitar to play great in its stock form using all its stock parts. The first video in this series was just me taking it out of the box, playing it, and giving you my impressions of it and what I thought needed to be done to the guitar. In the second video, we leveled the frets, recrowned the frets, we dressed our ball ends, and then we polished the frets. In the second video of the repairs, be a third actual video in the series, we lowered the nut to give us proper notation on our tuner, on our first fretted note, by lowering just the low E side. The high E side was okay. We ended up having to add some saddle shims to our clone Floyd Rose to get our bridge here, to get our radius to match the radius of the bridge. All that's done. At the end of that third video, we had some issues. We put a little relief in the neck, and I made the decision that the action's just a little too low. So we need to raise this bridge. In this video, we're going to go over raising the bridge properly with any Floyd Rose type tremolo and setting the intonations on a clone Floyd Rose or an original Floyd Rose. This will most likely work on an Ibanez Edge tremolo as well. Slight variations in all of these products, but the basic idea, how the tremolo works and how the saddles attach, are pretty much all the same. So stay tuned and hope you enjoy it. Okay, this is our first part of our video. We're going to go over how to properly raise a Floyd Rose bridge or a Floyd Rose clone bridge like we have right here. This screw and this screw is what changes your action height. Okay? It does not change the radius. Go back and look at our last video if you want to learn how to get this radius correct. There are small shims under each one of these screws, just like this. And you're going to use a radius gauge to get that radius perfect, or as close as you can with the shims. Ours is very, 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 very close. As good as we can get it with the shims that we have. My point in saying how to properly raise the Floyd Rose is we don't want to turn this screw with this knife edge engaged into it. The Floyd Rose system floats. The only thing making contact is this knife edge. If we take our tool, we put it in here, we start cranking on this, it's spinning on that knife edge. It's dulling that knife edge, and it's going to destroy how that bridge returns. It's going to create more friction on the knife edge, which is going to make the tremolo want to stick down or stick up, or we want to make sure that we keep that knife edge right. So the only way to do that is to take the pressure off our strings, and let me unplug the guitar here, go behind the guitar and disconnect the springs. That way we can pull the tremolo system back, make our adjustment, put the tremolo system back in its spot, and re-engage our springs. That's a lot of work. So we need to make sure that we're making the right adjustments the first time. Okay? So once you determine where you want to go, loosen your strings, take your springs off, pull your tremolo back, make your adjustment, and then reassemble. We're going to do that. In this case, I think our high E is just about where it needs to be. I'm going to go down just a little bit, okay, on the high E, and I'm going to raise the action just a little bit on our low E. So I'm going to go into squirrel mode as we take all the tension off the strings here, and we disconnect the springs under the guitar. I am also going to remove the tremolo bar. So once we get it to that point, I'll come out of squirrel mode and we'll make our 2 adjustments. Notice I'm holding the bridge until I get it flipped over. You don't want that bridge falling out of the guitar. Now that our springs are done, we can see that we can take our bridge and we can pull it back, taking that pressure off of here before we make the adjustment. While we're in there, we want to kind of look at our knife edge. See if there's any damage to the knife edge. I'm looking at it. It's not horrible, but it's not great either. So what we can do, we can come in here. You can see there's some spots here and here. We can make that better. There's a little ridge right there. That's what we're feeling for. That knife edge is very, very important. So while we're in here, we're going to go ahead and fix that as well. Now, as we said, we wanted to raise our low E a little bit and lower our high E. So with our tremolo back, we're going to give that just a quarter turn. We're going to raise our high E a quarter turn up. Make sure our knife edge sits in. Now the trick to this is being able to hold the bridge like that as the knife edge is still engaged. Flip the guitar over. Once the guitar is down on the pad, that'll hold the bridge into position, as long as you don't do anything really strange. Now set the neck down, take this hand, hold the bridge until it gets down on your padded table. Now we want to take just one spring. Make sure you're oriented right, dead center. We want to engage the spring and then tighten the springs with our screws here. Get a little pressure on it, because without pressure it's still going to want to flop around. That's what we want to not happen. We don't want to damage that knife edge. And you'll know when you're getting pressure because this base plate here, the bottom of the base plate will start to come up. And since you only have one spring on it, kind of tighten it up a little bit there. Now you can flip the guitar over. You don't have to worry about it. Do you have to get the guitar in tune to check it? Probably not. I'm going to go ahead and raise the tune back up, get it close, at least to where the bridge is even, and I'm going to put it in my lap and check the action. We may even just look at it one more time with our string action gauge, because we know we were at 0.055 on the E, and we were at 0.05 on our high E. So let's put some tension back on the springs and see where we're at. So I'm going to go back into squirrel mode. And we just have a little bit of pressure on the strings. It's really not much. I'm going to flip the guitar over and install our last two springs. Now let's plug our tuner up. We'll go ahead and bring it up to tune. Get it close anyway. Because we don't have to get it perfect because our bridge is sitting really low. Just get it in the ballpark. Take a little bit more off. Check our bridge. I think we're going to need to go in. Alright, let's look at our bridge. We're a little high in the rear. Move them around a little bit. Let's look at our bridge. That's pretty good. So let's check our action. Here's our string gauge. We're going to check it on our 12th. Let's unplug the guitar. Slide the guitar down so y'all can get a better angle on it. And that's about right. We're at 0.05. And I'm not seeing the top of 6, and I'm also not seeing the bottom of it. So I'm going to call that 0.055. And on our high E, we're at, it looks like it's just a fraction high of 0.050. So now we're going to put the guitar on our lap and just see how it feels. That's the most important thing. Does it feel right to you? So let me change the camera angle and we'll just do a feel test. Okay, here we have our guitar. We've made our height adjustment. All we're going to do is play the guitar. See, do we like the height the way it is? It's not perfectly in tune. It's very, very close, but it's not perfect. Just play the instrument. The guitar is very harmonic. We're going to call that good. Now let's get to the intonating. Okay, here we are at our bridge, and these are the screws that we'll need to loosen so we can make adjustments to our saddles. Now, if you have shims underneath your saddles and you're using this type of shim that the screw goes through, the shim is encapsulated by the screw. It's captured. So by moving, you don't have to worry about the shim pushing back. If you have the shims where this is open and it doesn't have that piece of metal there, you'll need to be mindful as you move that saddle back and forth. The shims can get out of alignment because the only thing holding them there is the pressure of that screw down on the plate. Now, to get our intonation, that's based on our open E and our E fretted on our 12th. off just a little. There we go, it's pretty stable. Now, just like we went over in the last video, how you fret the note will change. You know, find that comfortable medium. I don't go right in the center and I don't go right on the fret either. I'm kind of in between center and on the fret when depressing, and I try to keep in not a hard and not light, somewhere in between on pressure down on the string. So there's our E, open. And that was falling off before, because this is one of the saddles that we did not put a shim in, and before we raised that, it was falling off just ever so slightly. Now I'm going to refret it again. Our E is just barely going up. Keep that in mind as we fret it. I'm going to say that saddle needs to go back just a little bit. It's not much, but it definitely needs to go back a little bit. So let's take the tension off our E. I'll go into squirrel mode each time we do that, so you don't have to sit and watch me do that. Okay, we're going to grab our 2.5, and they do make a tool that attaches on here that comes back and hooks. I do have it, and to be honest with you, I find it easier just to loosen the string. I stand up, I put my tool right in like that, and I'm going to put my finger right on this ridge. Loosen. I'm also looking, let me grab my pick tool, I'm also looking at where this saddle ends in relation to the fixed saddle. I'm looking at how far it's setting back to that one. That'll also give me a reference on how much to move the saddle. I'm just going to move it ever so slightly. Again, you don't have to tighten it hard, just get it snug. I'll go back into squirrel mode as we retune the low E string. The last thing we want is that string to move as we're doing this. We want to make sure the tension is even behind the nut, make sure it's good and stable before checking. I'm going to check again. Now, in case you missed the last video, I'm going to again go over the pressure thing. Changing your finger changes how the tuner and the fretted note rings out. The closer you bring your finger to the edge of that fret, the higher it's going to be. Exact same principle. If we move our finger back, you can see it made a change. You can also change, if you hit in the center, to pressing hard to soft. What we want is I put my finger just a little bit forward to the fret, not on the fret. We want to find the comfortable medium. Pressing hard to where the note That's about as light as I can hit. I'm going to say that is sharp. Now I'm going to gauge that by how much I moved the saddle last. We're going to again move the saddle back. We're going to keep repeating this process until we get the low E intonated properly. And again, you need to ask your customer questions. If it's not your guitar, watch them. How do they fret the instrument? Are they putting a lot of pressure on the strings? You need to pay attention to these things so you can get a proper setup guitar for that particular person. Now we've adjusted our saddle back just ever so slightly. I'm going to go back into squirrel mode as we tighten the string. There we go, quite stable. Let's try again. And again, I'm gonna move my finger, make sure that I'm in the right spot. I'm gonna depress hard, and then I'm gonna depress lightly. Again, hard. And I believe we've made progress. Last time when I pressed hard, it was rotating a little quicker. But when we go light, I still feel on average the saddle needs to go back. No one plays super consistent. We're not computers. We can't always get the exact same amount. It's not a CNC machine. As you're playing, sometimes you might hit a little hard, you might hit a little soft. So you got to find that comfortable medium. And in my opinion, the comfortable medium here, we're just not quite there yet. So again, I'm going to go into squirrel mode, loosen the string, we'll make another adjustment. Okay, grab our 2.5, and again, we're looking at where the saddle is in relation to the saddle next to it. I put my finger on the back side of the saddle. We're going to loosen it. You see right there. And again, back into squirrel mode as we tighten the string. I'd say we're stable right there. Let's strike the note again. Seems like it's going a little high. Let's make sure that the pressure's the same. And the string. ever so slightly high. It's pretty good. Let's fret our note. Again. Now we're going to do our pressure trick. And then as soft as I can fret it. That's why you always double check. That's our open. Sometimes it'll seem stable, but it's actually not. I'm going to loosen it. Okay, let's fret our note. And just strike it a couple times here. Alright, let's check our note. I'm paying attention to the consistency of the rotation. It looks congruent. I'm going to call that good. We are going to go back and just double check. Good wrenches will fit snug if your hardware is good. That is a good wrench. The saddle screws on this guitar are spot on as far as their measurement. Their inside tolerance is really good. It is 2.5 millimeters. That's a good screw. Excuse me. Now let's check our A string. Let's do our fretted note. Lift our finger, move a little bit. It's falling off just a little bit. Tune it. The basement. Very chilly down here. I'm going to call that okay. It is falling off ever so slightly. I lift my finger. Now we're going to do the pressure variation. That's pushing pretty hard. Open A. As light as I can possibly press. That's a really light touch. That's a pretty hard touch. I'm going to say it's a fraction high. I believe that saddle needs to come back just a little bit. So let's go into squirrel mode, loosen our A. Alrighty, put our tool in. Again, put my finger right here. I'm paying attention to where this saddle is in relation to this saddle and the saddle to the left. Just barely moved it. So let's retune the string. Give it a stretch. It's pretty good. Let's check our note. 12th. Refret. Double check our open. It is slightly going up. It's pressing pretty hard. Open note. Light touch. Pressing pretty hard. Open note. I'll always go back to that open and double check it, because you're loosening and tightening the tension on these strings. It will go out of tune pretty quick. Okay, it looks pretty stable. Refret. And by changing the pressure and moving my finger back and forth on the fretboard, forward to the fret, back on the fret, I'm finding a comfortable medium. Let's check our open note again, make sure we're still good. I'm going to call the A good. Let's go to our D. There's our D. Let's fret our 12th. Pushing hard. Light. Hard. Double check our open note. Change my fretting. That one seems to fall off more than going sharp as I change the I'm going to say that saddle needs to move ever so slightly forward towards the locking nut. Okay, seam stable. Let's check our 12th. Now let's start varying our finger and varying the pressure like we've been doing. It's pretty hard, pretty light. Let's move center fret. Let's move towards the edge of the fret. Let's double check our open, make sure that we're still good. I'm going to call the D good. Okay. Seam stable. Let's check our 12th fretted note. Open. All right, let's refret. Start making our slight adjustments. Let's push hard. Push light. Let's go more towards the edge of the fret. Light, hard. Always go back to that open. And I'm just barely turning the tuning peg. Let's give it a stretch. I think I went too much. Give it a big stretch. She's not playing friendly with it. Ever so slightly. Let's check our fretted note. Good, open. Slightly high. I'm again looking at the rotation. Let's change our fret position. That's 2 times on tuning the G twice. And it is ever so slightly high. Check it again. I'm going to call the G good. Let's check our B. There's our B. Remember, watch our rotation here. Refret. So 12th, open. And I'm varying the pressure, doing the exact same trick, moving my finger back and forth. Like I said, I'm not dead center and I'm not right on the fret. I'm somewhere in between dead center and on the fret. And I'm changing the pressure because no one is a robot. No one plays at the exact same amount of force. I want to find a comfortable medium. It seems like it's on the sharp side. So I'm going to say we need to move that saddle back. Try right there. There's our open B. Hard, soft. Let's go back to our open. Hard. Let's fret soft. Hard. I'm going to call that one good, because as I depress hard, I'm looking at the rotation, and I want to match that speed in a reverse direction playing soft. Now back to hard, and then refret. I'm going back and forth. Don't make a quick judgment. Play the instrument, play it back and forth. I'm going to call the B good. Let's check our high E. Okay, there's our E. I think we're a fraction high. Let's do our fretted 12th. Open E. Fretted 12th. Now let's start changing our pressure, moving our finger. Let's get a nice medium. You want to make sure. I'm going to call the E good. So let's go through and retune the instrument. I'll move the strings around a little bit. Now's the time to look at your fine tuners. Let's bring them down just a little bit. Just in case we have to make an adjustment once we lock down our nut. So let's retune again. And it's okay if they're just slightly below tune, a little flat. If you remember in the first video, we loosened the nut, tuned the string, and then when we tightened it, it did raise it just ever so slightly. Okay, let's lock down our lock nut. And that is a 3mm. Again, doesn't take a lot of pressure. Now let's use our fine tuners. Okay, let's put the guitar on the lap and see how our chording sounds. Okay, here we are with the guitar. In this video, we went over how to properly raise the Floyd Rose without damaging your knife edges. And we've learned how to intonate the guitar. That way your chording through here is actually in tune. In the previous video, we repaired the nut to where our first fretted notes were correct. We also installed shims under the shadows to get the radius correct. We've added some relief to the neck. We've leveled, recrowned, and redressed all the ball end frets. So let's see if we've made positive improvements to this guitar. I can already hear the guitar is very stable. Check our cowboy chords, as some people call them. I would say we've made drastic improvements to the guitar. We will do one more video. We're going to take the guitar back upstairs, plug it into an amplifier, and listen to the guitar and compare that to the first video. At that point, we'll start making decisions. This guitar is still in its stock form. We have not made any changes. We'll go over the changes that I'd like to make to the guitar, that I feel the guitar is going to need to make this instrument a dependable guitar to go out and play. You know, that means make it to where it's going to hold tune, it's going to be easy to tune, it's going to take road abuse, and you're not going to have to worry about it. So stay tuned to the next video when we plug this thing into an amplifier and see what it sounds like. Thank you, and if you would, hit the subscribe button and the bell, and leave some comments. You know, is there any questions on anything that I've done in any of the previous videos or this video, or something that you disagree with? A lot of guys block the tremolo when they do all this work. I do that sometimes. I did not do that in this video. You know, I wanted to show the tuning process. When you loosen those springs and you make adjustments to the back of the guitar, how much it takes to keep that tremolo parallel to that body. Because remember what we said, the fluid raised tremolo is a fulcrum based system. We raised our action here a little bit and lowered it here, but we don't want to go too far. If we pull back on the tremolo, we're actually going to lose a little height. And when you dive down, you're gaining height. So keep all these things in mind when you're changing your bridge height. You can slam it down and get super low action. You go pulling up on that bar, you're effectively lowering that bridge due to the placement of the fulcrum and where the bridge saddles are. So we're going to end the video here. Like I said, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell, leave some comments. Thank you for watching.